thing.
Yes.
Who would you like to talk to next?
Let's talk to JL in
Sure.
Texas.
All right. And just so people know, we did have a line open up. So we've got a couple atheists who are waiting, but we want to talk to some theists, some religious people. If you want to talk to us, if you want to convince us, if you want to make your case for Christ, now's the time. If you believe in the flat earth, if you think that reptilians are a thing, if you think that we're off, let us know, because that would be fucking awesome. 512-686-0279.
Fair warning, though, if you do come in touting the actual case for Christ, we will laugh at you.
I mean, after, going through it, but yes, hopefully you'll laugh with us. Hey, JL.
Hi, how's it going?
Doing well.
Good.
What'd you want to talk about?
Excellent. Oh, thank you so much, Eric, for taking my call. It's something really quick. It's kind of inspired by the live debate I watched with Matt last night.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been watching you all for years and kind of having my own debates and engaging in my own arguments. And something that I'm kind of tussling with in my own way. It seems to be that every single argument or debate that I've been involved in myself, it always kind of boils down to faith. And it's faith in, whatever theists put their faith in. And it seems to be the root of the issue, that's the point. And every other topic that is danced around just is seeming more and more to me like semantics.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really get anywhere. It's kind of like baby steps, when the root of the issue is kind of like why they believe and where their faith is coming from. And I'm kind of talking on that because now it's more, every time I get into a debate or an argument, it's kind of like, I got to go through all these hoops and dance around this, and it's just, maybe I'm just losing my patience with it. But or quite possibly I'm missing something, and I was hoping you might have some insight into that.
Yeah. My first instinct would be to say that while I agree that a lot of this comes down to just faith and talking about that, have you deconverted, JL, or have you always been an atheist?
Yes. Oh, I was always atheist. I was actually confirmed Methodist, and my deconversion process, I would say, took about 5 years if I were to put a number on it.
Okay.
But it was a slow process. Doing the work myself and using the tools that I have, and of course educating myself. But
right.
But yes.
But so then,
converted atheist.
Then you know how this works. Semantics semantics as a communication tactic is used by churches all the time. They take words and they make them mean other things, or they take words and they give you alternate definitions, or they take words and they instill emotional responses to those words. So I think that the focus on semantics and the focus on, well, what do you mean when you say this? And what can we agree on a definition for this is extremely important, because that is part of the deprogramming process that gets us to then talk honestly about that core issue, which is faith. So for me, it's understanding that the first line of defense is going to be, I understand what this other person is talking about because I have all of these definitions in my head. My pastor taught me these definitions. So then talking about faith is going to be a lot harder because we're going to be talking past each other. So for me, yes, it gets fucking hard when you have to sit down every time and you're like, okay, tell me what you mean by God, tell me what you mean by belief, tell me what you mean by creator. Like all of these terms that they think that they know, and you think you know, you have to come to some kind of common ground there before you can move forward. So that's where I fall on that.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. The only thing that I would add is just a little bit of personal context if it helps. And that is, during my search, it wound up ending at faith over and over and over again. Well, why should I? How do I know? Can you tell me a little bit more? You seem to have this really, really strong view of your religion. Please, how are you so confident? And you dig and you dig and you dig, and every time you get to the bedrock, which is faith. And I look back at it and I remember hearing, these slogans, walk by faith, right? And it makes sense. It's a good way to turn your brain off. Hey, I think that, not questioning is valuable. Well, no, that's not how that works. And it just took time. But yeah, I was told you got to have faith at some point. You have to have faith. You have faith in something. And I remember thinking, well, maybe if I just find faith, I thought that was one of those instances where I thought I was broken. Because I thought, well, all of these people can have faith and I don't. What's wrong with me? How come everybody else, you too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was, what's wrong with me? How come everybody else believes this, but there's something about it that just doesn't fit?
Agreed.
Yeah. So where I was going with that is faith, in my experience, has been a catch-all term. And it's been a catch-all term that means I don't know, could just believe it anyway. And then later on, I heard better definitions, which wound up being belief without evidence or unsubstantiated belief. Was Aaron Ross says saying what you can't know, something like that.
I don't
something
that.
You can't know. I don't know. Anyway,
it seems to be that, and many times when having a conversation, you finally dig yourself down to that bedrock, and you're setting your charges and everything. Then the first thing that actually happened a couple of days ago. The first time it ever happened to me was in a discussion, and someone straight up Proverbs 26:4'd me.
Ooh.
And it was like just a blatant line out of Proverbs that just basically says, don't engage with people who question you. Just don't engage with fools, I think is what it states. I forget the words themselves. So they actually have, like theists actually, or Christians, I should say, who follow the Bible actually have that legitimate line where they can just be like, boom, no, I'm done.
Yeah,
there are a couple of those, unfortunately.
Is it the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God?
You got it.
Yeah.
And then it was weird because 26:4 and then 26:5 like directly contradicts the previous one. It's very, very strange. So, but I mean, I was running into this kind of like wall, and I was like, it's got to be faith. You've got to go after faith. And I hear all these debates, and they're wonderful, and they taught me so much about logic arguments and not falling into fallacies, and and making sure you have a coherent line of thought. And I was just like, yeah, these are great for educational purposes, which is what this is. But ultimately, we're trying to get to the bedrock of it, and it just seemed like it wasn't happening. And I was like, so I think my takeaway from this is that I'm going to look for more patience and open my mind up to be a little bit more easygoing, not as stringent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it depends on the other person as well. But yeah, I think I like to reference the analogy you said earlier. For me, it's less like laying charges on bedrock and more like the process that archaeologists have to go through, where they take a toothbrush and just kind of like scrape the dirt away from a pot for like 10 hours. So unfortunately, sometimes it's more like that.
My tolerance for intellectual dishonesty is much, much lower than your average individual. So I can hear so much, and then I just kind of like, I bristle. So.
Well,
but that just goes to show that I still have much to work on myself.
Oh, for sure. What helps me is recognizing that some people have picked up dishonest tactics, but that does not necessarily make them dishonest. They learned that, this is the way you respond to a thing. I had a precept 2 weeks ago tell me, I know God exists, I just deny it. And super sweet guy. And when you talk to him, he wound up being super honest about a lot of things. And I kind of walked away from it thinking, this guy just has got a really bad tactic. What he learned, with tag is just not good. It doesn't mean the guy's not good. It just means he's practiced something that really doesn't gel with his character.
Yeah. So no bad students, only bad teachers.
Oh, no, there's some bad
students.
They're
definitely bad students.
Last week.
Well, I mean,
3 days ago?
Thursday? Yeah, 3 days ago.
Yeah, 3 days ago, I talked to a dude who said that if you say, I don't know, you cede the argument. You lose. If you say, I don't know, then the other person wins, and they are correct. and my jaw just hit the floor, and I looked at the live chat, and everybody else's jaws hit the floor. It was amazing. No, that was a bad student.
But he was taught that. To be fair, this is someone ingrained or entrenched or got him entrenched in that kind of viewpoint. So
I think that might be society, though. I mean, we value knowing a thing so much more than saying I don't know. People vilify this idea that you don't know. It's better to come up with something than to admit that you don't know. It's ridiculous. I mean, that's why I got into the habit of saying, and I need to say more on Talk Heathen. I used to say it all the time at the beginning. The most intellectually honest thing you can do is say I don't know, because it's so hard to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. But
excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Take care, man. Thank you for calling in.
You as well. And I have to say, you do look better with teeth than without. So, thank you guys so much for taking my call. You'll have a wonderful afternoon. Okay.
Thank you. You as well.
That was nice.